Captain Xavier. How you doing, Captain?
Hooray! I'm here. It's me. I'm good.
It's an honor
It's
to have
Friday.
you on.
Is it?
Yeah, it's Friday. I think
Hmm.
so. Maybe? I don't know.
It better be. I'm not going
Hopefully.
to work tomorrow, whether it is or isn't. So
Uh, How are you doing today?
so far so good. I woke up. I did work. I had lunch. Now I'm here. It's been an uneventful Friday so far.
I can't complain with that.
How about you? How are you this fine Friday?
About the same as always. Just busy. Been spending the day working. Got a couple
Excellent. Very
projects I've
good.
been working on.
Yeah, what you been working on?
Getting in frame.
Neat.
Double strikes are kind of like my favorite ever. So
They're
I had
fun.
this one, which was, it was so messed up. I just decided to, well, I can't mess it up anymore. So,
Famous last words.
almost was a couple times. I just kept adding on plastic to the hammer prime, which was completely snapped off, and gluing it and melting it together.
Hmm.
I'll end up painting it in the fall. Not getting much power out of it, even though I have the upgrade spring that Worker has and brass barrel out of it.
Interesting. How's the seal?
Eh, not great.
None. Yeah, that's probably the problem. You probably need to check the O-ring on the plunger.
Where do you get O-rings from? Because other than like buying them direct from out of darts for certain brasters, I haven't been able to find them.
Um, hardware store, Amazon. You can buy a whole pack where it's got like 50 different sizes, and you'll probably use one over the course of your Nerf career. I've got a
Oh,
red
just
set
like a
and a
variety
blue set.
pack.
Yeah, I got a red an Imperial and a metric variety pack off Amazon, and every once in a while they come in really handy. Like when I built my doubled booster, it required
Mm-hmm.
an O ring, and I luckily had the O ring for it, so it worked.
All right. I'll have to do that then, because I have probably most of everything on this wall could use it. That and foam padding for the plunger tube.
Yeah, and that you can get at a craft store, Michael, or craft stores
Yeah.
they have on the East Coast.
I One thing I've been meaning to talk to you about though is painting, because I've done some painting, but I want to try using the vinyl dye like you do. I think that'll make them look a lot better. But how do you like with my strife here that I did? How do you get the lines in it with vinyl dye? Do you just use like painter's tape to cover up the parts you
Yeah,
want to
I
keep?
just yep, just masking tape, just painter's tape,
Okay.
tape it off. Make sure it's pushed down really well so it doesn't leak in under it, and paint as normal.
Oh, so you just paint completely as normal. So it's okay to put uh, vinyl dye on top of vinyl dye.
Yeah, yeah. Though I
Okay.
typically don't. I usually base coat in vinyl dye, base coat of black, and then paint orange over the top of the vinyl dye. That tends to
Hmm.
work better.
Okay, I'll try that then. You're saving me a lot of money here, Cap. It's expensive. It. I mean,
Yeah,
it's expensive.
vinyl dye is not cheap, but it's worth it.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to do it. I'm hoping to. This will be my second or third like season doing it, because I'm in South Carolina and I don't have a painting shop set up, so I do all my painting in my backyard. So I
Mhm.
have to wait for the fall and the spring to be just the perfect weather to be able to paint.
Yeah, I have a similar problem here in the Pacific Northwest because it's a rainforest and it rains all
Hmm.
the time. Though right now it's beautiful weather. But that it sometimes will be so damp, just the general dampness in the air. It'll take days for something to dry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you just search Amazon for O rings, there's a whole bunch of variety packs, and some of them are like 950 O rings for $8. Uh,
Oh wow.
and it comes in all varieties, and there'll probably be one that'll work for you.
Oh yeah. I'll just order one. Just add it on to my next order.
Yeah.
Uh, I know a while ago you got the easy Strife half dart adapter that just, other than a little bit
Yes.
of shell cutting, it easily makes it so it can swap back in and out. Because
Yep.
I'm lazy and don't want to go back and rewatch the video, uh, can you give like a quick overview of it? I've been thinking about getting it. I just been cautious.
So the way that he did it, which is absolutely brilliant, is the extended pusher that you need to be able to actually get a half dart to reach the
Mhm.
flywheels, because the stock pusher won't push it far enough. The extended pusher is built into the magazine adapter, and you just
Yeah.
have to pull the trigger a little bit to get the pusher to extend just enough, so that when you slide the mag adapter in, that extended pusher just hooks onto the stock pusher, and then you're done.
Oh, I thought I would have to manually open it and install that the
No, no,
pusher
you
for it.
can. Nope. The pusher is built into the mag adapter, and it's a little tricky to get it to hook onto the pusher, but you don't have to open the blaster to put it in.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. I'll probably get there or try and get it in time for the September meeting at Nebraska Club. Hopefully, I'll have that in time, but I think it won't be here till after that. So, how are those long range darts working out?
So far, they're working out really well. I've given away a bunch of them, and the people I've given them to rather like them. They tend to only work in high-powered blasters. They're
Mm,
apparently a tighter seal, and so they work great in really high-powered blasters. But if it doesn't have enough power, they'll get stuck in the barrel,
mm.
which I've noticed in a couple of mine. We do have a couple of people watching now. Fabby Pet Simulator has gotten a Titan. Is it the minigun Titan or the rocket launcher Titan? Because Nerf now has two blasters called Titans, just to be extra
Yep.
confusing.
I don't know why they do that. It's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing for them to name things that are already taken by other companies, but
Mhm.
having their own name renewed used. But
Yep.
that'll make the rules.
I wanted to ask though. Do you think there's a way I could order one box of the bamboos and one box of the regular ones from you? Like, if you'd be willing to let me buy a pair off you?
Well, I mean, you could just order them from Long Wang.
Oh, I thought he was. I thought they were just giving it all to you.
I don't think he gave all of them to me. I would have to try to hunt down. It's on Amazon.
Oh, well, just check Amazon then.
Yeah, it was an Amazon store.
I thought they were just giving you all of their inventory.
Them. Well, those look like the ones, but I wonder if I can actually find him by name here. Can you? Is there a way to search for sellers rather than items? Doesn't look like it.
I don't know if there is. I don't use Amazon much.
Hmm, let's see. Someone has a question for me. I have a question. I have picked up an Elite XD Alpha Trooper and was wondering what mods you did to yours. So mine has an old Orange ModWorks kit in it, which I do not believe is still available. So it had upgraded plunger, upgraded priming handle, upgraded catch, upgraded spring, and I think I now have an upgraded trigger in it. But I'm reasonably certain that particular kit is no longer available. Uh, But there are other kits. There's half dart kits out there. There are upgraded springs for it as well. There's all kinds of 3D printed parts for it. I know I've 3D printed catches for ones where the catch had worn out because they upgraded the spring but didn't upgrade the catch. And there's files for an upgraded spring for it.
How do those hold up, the 3D printed catches?
Well, they're better than a worn out catch.
Yeah.
The better your printer, the better they're going to work. And if you can print it out of PETG or ABS, it would probably work better. But with the PLA, it'll last for a while. But if it wears out, print another one. It takes 10 minutes and 5 cents of filament. I have got to give these rockets a try.
I need to get a printer. Well, before that, I was supposed to get a laptop so I can run the printer. But those are the after a regular microphone for my regular videos. That is next on the list.
Oddly enough, you don't actually hook a 3D printer up to a computer usually. Some of the newer ones you can.
Really, everybody I've talked to said I have to have a laptop to be able to print.
Well, you need a computer to be able to slice the files, but a lot of printers, you actually then put the files on an SD card and then you plug the SD card into the printer. Newer ones actually do just plug in with USB. I wish mine worked that way. It would have made it so much easier than having to copy stuff onto an SD card back and forth all the time. All right.
I'm definitely going to get one sometime. Just don't know when.
Anyway,
did you have any issues with your Nerf Pro Torrent?
What?
Did you have any issues with your Nerf Pro Torrent? Mine would not stop jamming. I had to get a ramrod and stuff down the barrel to fix it.
No, I guess I got lucky because neither my torrent or my sender had any significant issues. I had no jamming issues. I didn't have any of the darts getting chewed up. I haven't put a whole lot of darts through it, but I haven't had any jams in the blaster yet. My sender had the same issues that everyone did, where it's not quite as accurate as we would like, even though my flywheels were aligned. And I have a theory, and I'm making a video about it. I believe the sender was originally designed for a 3S LiPo, for the same kind of LiPo that came in the Strife X. But then the reviews on the Strife X came out, and the number one complaint that every single person had, other than me, I think, was that it was too expensive. They thought $120 was too much for a 3S Strife, which I still disagree with. If you wanted to commission a 3S Strife from someone, it would cost about that much, and that wouldn't include the battery and the charger. Whereas this one came with the battery, the charger, the magazine, iPro, all of that, plus a 3S Strife, a really, really nice 3S Strife. But that was the number one complaint. And then with Dart Zone constantly coming out with really good blasters that are in the $50 range that's available in Walmart, that's what Hasbro realized they needed to compete against. And so the bean counters decided, no, we have to get these blasters to $50 or below, and so that we can put them on shelves at Walmart and people will actually pay for it. And the only way to get the sender to have any kind of performance and be under $50 was to make it run on AA's. One, because of the size, they couldn't make it if they couldn't run on like D cells or C cells because it would have been too large. And if they wanted to get enough voltage, they needed at least 8 alkaline batteries because they're 1.5 volts each, and you need 12 volts to make the thing spin. And so I think it was originally supposed to have I believe it was originally supposed to have a rechargeable 3S LiPo pack, but they dropped that in order to get it under $50. And as a result, AA's just cannot produce enough current for those motors to run properly. It's got the voltage, but it doesn't have the current. And so it spins up slowly, and there's a lot of sag, and you're not getting consistent RPMs, and so you're getting inconsistent shots. I hooked a 3S LiPo up to it, just hooked alligator clips up to the battery leads in the battery housing, and all the problems went away. It shot straight as an arrow and it hit 170 FPS. So, like I said, I'm convinced it was supposed to run on a 3S, and they just were forced to change it. And so what would have been really nice is if they'd given you the option. If they made the battery
Yeah.
pack removable and had an SD60 connector in there, like Dart Zone has done with all of did with the Mark III. If
Hmm.
Hasbro had done that, they still would have been able to get it under $50, and it would have been night and day difference with our reaction, because that would have solved most of the problems. There is still the QC problem, the quality control problem of some of the flywheels aren't aligned, and that comes down to cost cutting in manufacturing. They don't have anybody checking the wheels to make sure. They don't have a really good tool that always sets them to the same height or whatever. There's problems with that, which in like flat wheels, like they have in most of their blasters, that doesn't make any difference because they're
Yeah.
flat. Whereas when they're concave, like these ones are, if they're offset, then you're going to get really wild results. And then when your wheels don't have consistent RPM and don't have consistent current, it just gets much, much worse. Let's see. What do we got in the chat? Huh. Yeah. Anyone in the chat, feel free to ask questions. That's what this chat is for.
Yeah, please do, guys. Please do.
Yeah, the half darts that I got, they are available on Amazon. They're kind of expensive for 200 darts. They're upwards of $20 for 200
Really,
darts.
I'd rather just get more Worker Gen 3s.
Yeah, quite frankly. And then get, like, if you really want the bamboo, get the bamboo jig that lets
Yeah,
you turn any half dart into
the
a bamboo.
molds.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. The man sent me 66 packages at $22 a package. Good Lord.
Do I want to know?
It's $1,452 worth of darts the man
God,
sent me. Like 16,000 darts. It's
you think that's
ridiculous.
the most expensive gift you've ever been given so forth in the hobby?
No. Well, actually, I don't know. It might be, actually. Unless the night vision that they were going to send me ever actually shows up. I was supposed to get sent some night vision goggles, but they have not arrived. And I don't know if they're
Oh
just
man.
not going to or what. But that was really looking forward to that if it was actually going to show up.
Yeah,
Because
that would make your correction.
night vision goggles would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want night vision goggles?
Yeah. There is a new demolisher rocket design that some off-brand company has on Amazon that I simply had to order. I'll see how that turns out. I'm supposed to be here for another 2 weeks.
Just
I think
like
I'm
me, you
over.
go search on Amazon, you find stuff, and you have to have it.
Yeah, that's the danger of Amazon. Like, oh, Lord, look at this thing. I didn't know. I couldn't live without.
Yep. Uh, Thank you, the Norseman. I hope
Now
I'm
I have
saying your
3 of
name right,
them.
but thank you. Appreciate that. Sharing the stream around.
Yeah. Show the love. Tell them to subscribe, like, comment, ask questions.
Please.
Back to the comments. Nothing? Nobody?
I don't think there's anything else yet. But yeah, back to Nerf Pro. I mean, the Strife X, to me at least, that was really good. Because I mean, the Strife I built, not including the paint, I have like $130 into that, and that didn't come with the battery or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once you look at motors, wheels, cage, 3D printed parts, and
Oh
even
yeah.
with all of that, we don't have. Nobody's got a geared pusher for a Strife.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing had a wonderful geared pusher. All you had to do was switch up some springs, and it became just a super, super snappy trigger, really, really fast, really reliable. And we don't even have the ability to do that. I mean, you'd have to do injection molded or
Yeah.
resin cast to be able to get gears that work that smooth. And there were like things like the battery cage and the magwell adapter and
It adds
the
up. I mean,
handle
you may be
cap.
able to find the brass store thrifting, but then it's everything else just adds up, especially if you don't own a 3D printer or know how to solder. Like me, I don't know how to
Yeah,
solder yet, so I had to contact Maritime Foam, and I mean that was. I'm sure he doesn't completely overcharge you, but he's got to make a little something first time, so that
yeah,
adds to it.
exactly. If people, when people say, I could build that for $90, why is it 130? You're like, well, yeah, I could build it for that little, but I already have a soldering iron. I already have the
Hmm.
solder. I already have the wires, the switches, the 3D printer, the filament. If you didn't have all of that, I already have the charger, have all of that. You have all of that in the cost of the blaster. And yeah, it still baffled me that people thought 120 was too much for one of the nicest 3S strifes you could possibly ask for.
Oh yeah.
There were some odd choices. The lack of a barrel lug was kind of weird. The fact that
Hmm.
they went to rival rail instead of standing with, either sticking with Nerf rail or switching to Picatinny rail. The changing
Well,
up
they
the
had to
grip,
give
I
us some
like
stuff that
the
we can do in the hobby, stuff that we can do
yeah.
to make it a little bit more custom. I mean,
Oh,
there's multiple different kits out for it already. Or I say
yeah,
already,
and
but
that
it's
was
been out for like a year.
yeah, and that was the other thing is because they changed all of those things, the old Strife kit wouldn't work with it.
Hmm.
Or some of the old Strife kits wouldn't work. Like thumbhole stocks wouldn't work because the grip was different. Some of the rail kits wouldn't work because the rail was different. Anything that used a barrel lug wouldn't work because there was no barrel lug. Though obviously we've since already created 3D printed, you know, replacement barrel lugs for it. But it was a wonderful, for Hasbro's first step into Pro, it was an incredibly well done. And then for the two new Nerf Pro ones to not live up to that,
Yeah.
but are also a fraction of the price. The sender isn't or the torrent isn't a bad blaster when it works, and people have already been able to mod it to take longer barrels and scar barrels and have gotten decent performance out of it. Um, and I'm surprised there isn't already a sender flywheel cage available so that you can put Krakens or whatever you want into it.
Hmm.
Uh, and there will be. It's just a matter of time. Uh, and one thing I think people are overlooking is the ergonomics are great. The shells are fabulous quality and really
Oh yeah.
cool.
Oh yeah.
I love that they are absolute sci-fi looking blasters. There is nothing real steel about them. The problem with the Strife X is it was still a Strife, which still just looks like an AR at
Hmm.
the core. You put a barrel and a stock and a rail, and all of a sudden it just looks like an AR. There is nothing remotely non-sci-fi about these. They're very rebel in their look.
Oh
It's
yeah.
all
They're very
smooth
smooth.
and curved. They're very svelte, and I love that. That is a really good move for Hasbro. The fact that it takes angled Talon mags was an interesting choice. I thought. I'm glad that it's
Especially on
still
the
a
Cinder.
Talon mag. Yeah, see the torrent, it makes sense because it's a grip, mag and grip, and you want an angled grip. You don't want a
Yeah.
perfectly vertical grip that's very uncomfortable and weird. And I understand that they wanted them to take the same magazine. You wouldn't want two different magazines for their two new blasters. But why they went with angled talons and not say nightingales?
Yeah.
Those ones are also proprietary and available. But you know, at least it's still you know compatible with a magazine from our hobby because
Oh
they could have
yeah. I
gone with
mean, they
something
could have just
completely
made another
proprietary.
proprietary mag.
Yeah, and so the fact that they stuck with the no, we're gonna stick with the hobby standard, but they still
Mhm.
put a lip on it so that other they won't work in some other people's blasters. You're like, come on,
My
Hasbro.
Talon mag, like my worker Talon mag, it's like it fits in there where I don't even have to hit the mag release. I could just yank it out, which I prefer. I
Yeah,
prefer where you could just pull it out.
yeah, and that was one complaint people had is the locks and stuff, and that made it kind of tricky.
Well, the thing about that, the Norseman, is that Nerf doesn't make brasters even for us. Even the
Yeah,
pro level brasters aren't for us. They are to bring people to us. They're bringing newcomers, bringing them up to our level so they can experience more of the higher end hobby. Personally, I think Nerf should either make they should just either go to making super entry brasters, super entry level like the turret and the cinder, or they should go all in and start making 300 FPS capable brasters for us, for the people who want high performance brasters from Nerf.
See, and I don't think Hasbro. I would be surprised if Hasbro ever did that because we are a very small part of their market share, and they're a toy company. And once you get over a certain FPS, you're no longer considered toys. Anything over 200 FPS isn't considered a toy anymore
Oh,
legally
really? I
as
didn't know
far
that.
as manufacturing goes. That is why all of Dart Zone's blasters, even though they are capable of hitting well over 300, well over 200 FPS, none of them do out of the box. Because if they
Mm-hmm.
did, they would be classified as a weapon when they come out of China, and they'd get
Mm.
seized by customs. So they make their
Yeah, that won't be
blasters.
good.
They make their blasters so they hit under 200 out of the box, but all you have to do is put a heavier spring in, and they can hit higher
Mm-hmm.
but they don't sell the spring because then that would nullify the
Yeah.
whole thing. Um,
And
so
I'm not saying that Nerf ever will make 300, 200, 250 FPS level brasters. I'm saying that's what I would want from them. I know they're
yeah,
going to keep bringing people into the hobby and bringing them higher up into the hobby, which is what I want because there's plenty of other places where you can get high performance brasters. You don't have to get them from Nerf. They just have to be a
correct.
stepping stone.
Yeah, you've got Dart Zone, you've got Worker. They are dedicated to the higher end stuff. Hasbro is the lower end, but having those 150 FPS blasters on Walmart shelves for
Mm-hmm.
reasonable price. Yeah, like you said, that's going to get people into the hobby. They're going to get in and realize that you can either upgrade these, and that's the other nice thing about the new Pro blasters is they are very moddable. They didn't solvent weld them together. They didn't use clips. They're properly screwed together. Again, they're good quality ABS plastic. The internals are solid. They're very moddable. There was an era there where Hasbro was trying to make their blasters not moddable,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and it
yeah.
felt like they were doing it on purpose. They weren't just trying to be cheap. It felt like it was personal. Um, and so taking that out of the equation, going back to solid blasters, simple blasters that are easily modifiable, easily upgradable. They're great platforms to tinker with. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm sure we're going to see more. Some people have kind of speculated that originally Rival was their competitive line, their pro line.
Mm-hmm.
And are they going to start phasing out Rival in favor of Nerf Pro? I would hope not. Rival blasters are cool,
Oh, yeah. I love
but
Rival.
I would
I've
love to
got.
see more. People are wanting people. One thing that people have mentioned that they really wanted is they wanted to continue the X line. They wanted a Alpha Trooper X. They wanted a Long Shot X. They wanted a Rapid Strike X, where they just took those shells and upgraded them to 150 FPS
Oh,
internals.
yeah, that's me. That's what I
Yeah,
want.
I would
I
love
just.
that too. I would have
I
loved
would.
to have seen a better long shot. Um,
I would get two of each and just keep running box. I mean, I already modded my turret. I put a longer barrel. It's actually the barrel out of my X long shot before I modded it, but
hmm,
it actually dropped the performance. I was getting 90s and the oddball into the 80s. It was super inconsistent, still is, and it's really not accurate. I mean, you could put a bigger spring in it, but what people don't understand is it's not priming down here. It has a pin that goes through the top here, and it's basically a top prime, like a retaliator. So and it's very thin plastic. So you could put a bigger spring in it, but you'd run the risk of that completely breaking.
hmm.
My next personal build,
Oh, what do you got?
non-functioning strife from Bresterborn. My first time buying from them actually.
I just bought something from
Orange
them.
because that's the last one they had. I I was buying like three. So I could have them because I'm trying to do commission builds, and if I already have the part
Yeah.
sooner, but I'm going to. This is going to be for later in the year once I get a little bit more budget built up and learn how to solder. But I'm actually going to learn how to solder on this. I'm going to just do a basic rewire probably this week because I've finally acquired a basic soldering iron and everything that I need, or almost everything that I need. So I'm just going to do a basic rewire of this, and then sometime in the fall or maybe after Christmas time, I'm going to band blaster it, maybe dual cage it,
Hmm.
half dart.
Yeah,
Scary.
yeah.
It's going to be
All
spicy and
good
scary.
plan. Soldering's not. Soldering is a daunting thing to learn, but it's not really as complicated. The biggest thing to remember is heat the element, not the solder. Um,
Hmm.
so if there's a pin that you're trying to solder to, heat up the pin because if the pin isn't hot enough, the solder will melt, but it won't adhere. It won't stick.
Yeah.
That was something I learned because I'd get it to attach and then it would just break right off again. And it's because I wasn't heating the element rather than the solder itself. Um, get flux, use flux, tin your wire,
Mm.
and then it. Because when I first started modding, I had absolutely no idea how to properly solder, and I was doing it almost, if not quite entirely wrong. And then a friend of mine who did soldering professionally, she worked in a chip factory, was watching me like, what on earth are you doing?
Hmm.
And she explained the mistakes that I was making, and it suddenly became so much easier. I still don't like soldering XT60 connectors. I love XT60 connectors; they're a great connector, but soldering them is just not fun.
You know, you can
I don't
actually
know what
buy
it
those
is.
pre-soldered from out of darts. Like they already
Yeah,
have
but
the reeds on them.
yeah, and some of those work really well. I've gotten some where the wire on it was so thick, I just couldn't get other
Hmm.
wire to solder to it. Um, and I need to order more XG60 connectors because I ordered a bunch and I don't know if they ever arrived.
Yeah,
I got
I
one of these
wish I had someone to
XG30
teach me.
connectors.
I've just been watching YouTube videos, but it's not the same as having someone there teaching you. So I'm hoping after
Yeah.
I get a little bit of experience with it, I'm planning on starting a like a live streaming, completely free, like mod tutorials where I'll do it slowly and people can come in with any questions and just do my best to help.
Yeah, so that was one of the original goals for the makerspace until I moved out here and discovered that my Wi Fi is horrible. I wanted to live stream mod parties where we would, all right, on this day, we're going to be modding this blaster. If you want to try from home, we will stream it. And if you have any
Hmm.
questions, we'll put a list of, okay, these are the blaster you need, these are the parts you need, this is where you can get the parts.
Yeah.
And then we would do the mod on stream as well as here live. But then there was a plague, and I haven't gotten the makerspace up and running since.
I
All
wish
right,
I could offer
where?
to help, but over here on the East Coast, I'm a good ways away from you.
Yeah, about as far away as you can get and still be on the same continent.
Yeah, right. I'm hoping to make it up there. Hopefully next year, because I'm still under 18, so I can't go on big trips by myself yet. But I'm hoping in the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
couple years I'll make it over there, see out of darts, Ralcom, everybody.
Flux, Luchathor, Coney Dog,
Oh yeah.
Xbox. Everyone's up here for some reason.
I don't know why. There's not enough of us down here in the southeast. I actually just through the World Film Alliance website, I found the Random Blaster Club, and I'm going to be there on the 11th. So
Excellent.
that's going to be my first time ever going to a game, like an
Awesome.
actual game, and being able to play. I am so excited. I still haven't decided what I'm going to take. Probably my modded Tryon. I don't
Take
know.
more than one thing. Try them out. Find out what you
Oh
really like
yeah,
playing with.
I just don't have a. I don't have a good selection. I know it looks like it does, but all of these small things aren't really competition level. I mean, I'm probably going to take my modded Strife, the Strife X, my Game Face Tryon. And then if I can get my Viper fixed by then, I'm going to take my Viper. I disassembled it because I was going to put an upgrade spring in it and I wanted to know how it worked before I put more money into it. And I could never get it back together. So I'm trying to find someone who will build it for me.
A Viper?
Yeah, the S200S Viper.
Oh, right, right.
They are. It's
Yeah,
interesting how they work.
I was thinking you were the revolver, the 3D printed one.
No, no, no.
Yeah, no, the Zhengwei Chi one. Yeah. Well, if you have all the parts, bring it to the event. There's probably someone there who'll know how to put it back together.
That's the thing. I think I do. I think I may be missing a spring. And Out of Darts was supposed to send one to me in March, so I need to email him, figure out when
Yeah,
he's gonna send that to me, and then I'll probably take it. Hopefully, someone will get it fixed for me. It was my favorite. I mean, I loved using that thing. It's the magazines are perfect. It's comfortable. It's easy to use. It's surprisingly accurate for how small it is. I mean, it's the perfect secondary in my opinion.
they're nice. I Viper have the Fire Rat, I think, which is very
Hmm.
similar. Maybe I do have a Viper. I don't know. I get a lot of stuff. So.
Speaking of stuff, that hammer shot I sent you, what was wrong with it? Was the plunger tube cracked, or like, what was wrong with it?
Um, you sent me the one with the half dart cylinder, right?
Yeah.
The seal between the plunger tube and the cylinder is just non-existent.
Was that the only thing that wasn't working?
I think so.
Hmm.
I just have to replace that. Which easiest way to replace it is just a small slice off of a mega dart, and then glue that where the original foam was. Um,
Mm.
yeah, air seals are the bane of spring blasters. If you don't have a good air seal, your all the force just goes somewhere else instead of going
Mm.
into the dart, into propelling the dart, and you end up with no power.
Yep. I got it and was excited to use it, and then I went to fire it, and it wouldn't fire. It just fell to the ground, and then I took it apart and put it back together, and took it apart and put it back together, and it would not work. I just It was to the point where I thought, well, he could use the parts. So
Nothing else. Yeah. I don't know if I'll keep it in that shell, but the cylinder is perfectly good, and I don't have that particular cylinder design, so I'm definitely going to put it in something. I just haven't decided which one yet.
if I can find the Etsy shop I bought it from, I'll send you the link to it. I got that one. I think I ordered something else. Oh yeah, I ordered a stand for my Kronos, which does not work due to the mass amount of priming action.
Yeah,
It it
yeah.
it just falls.
Just tips forward.
I'm actually looking to sell this one. I actually got a couple of things I'm looking to sell because I got the Strife I'm going to build. I'm trying to get a Griffin, and then I got a secret project that is going to be up for sale when it's finally done. But that will be exciting when it's done.
Yeah, yeah. And if you actually start going to Nerf event, that's the best place to sell stuff, buy and
Oh yeah,
sell. There's usually a little bit of horse trading at any event I've ever been to.
yeah. I'm planning on taking a couple of things, trying to get them sold. Hopefully, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, I guess like actually, I think I've already talked about it. Let me see if I can find it. If you recognize this cell, I've got one of these during an arms deal with a family member, and decided I was going to mod this and sell it and possibly paint it if it takes me till September, October to sell it. I haven't decided what I was going to do. I've been working with maritime foam because with something that I'm planning on selling, I want to make sure it's all soldered up right. So
Yeah.
thinking about doing day breaks on Wilkie motors, but I'm not sure. What nobody talks about with these is they're actually great to mod because the battery compartment in the stock, if you just cut out the battery tray, like the double A battery tray, you can have the whole stock for a battery. So there's
Yeah.
plenty of space.
And it's just a strife free shell, right? Semi-automatic flywheeler.
Yeah, the pusher setup is a little bit different, and the flywheel cage is a different shape. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Just
pretty much the same.
yeah. Anything that's a semi-automatic magazine fed is just a variant of the Strife, essentially,
Hmm.
which was a
And I built a
variant of the
custom pusher
Barricade.
for it. I got a custom pusher for it, and I'm gonna order an ankle tower magazine adapter, so it's gonna
Hmm,
look svelte. It'll
cool,
be
cool.
nice. I already got the paint, like the paint design I want to do lined up if I end up painting it. Just gonna have to wait till the fall. I need to figure out some way to get a paint room set up. Just don't have the space, the time, nor the money. It's expensive. That's gonna be a question for you, Cap, down in the comments. I do not. I've never been to an HVZ, so I can't answer for that.
Scavenger type A. What exactly does that mean?
You mean like a Hunger Games setup thing?
I'm not sure. Yeah, give
Maybe.
us some more details.
We need the details. There's actually a Hunger Games setup going on the 11th at the Nebraska Club, which I'm excited for. Don't know how I'm gonna do with that, but free stuff. So you got to try.
Yeah, yeah.
Who says no to free stuff?
I certainly don't, and that's why I'm running out of storage space.
A short dart amp. What is an amp? I can't.
The amp was a one of the ultra blasters. Really cool form
Oh
factor,
yeah.
but unfortunately was ultra. But it's
Yep.
really easy to swap the cage and wheels and motors and put a mag adapter in, and then it's just a gorgeous shell. That was the sad thing about ultra is a lot of the shells were really cool. They just
Hmm.
fired ultra. But for like the
You know
springers,
what?
it was really easy. Just rebarrel it, just shove a barrel adapter in, and you're good. Whereas the flywheelers, there was a lot more work to it.
You know what, Monk? If you send me an email using my new email address, I got a new email set up in my profile because the Yahoo address was not working. I don't think it was working right. So send me an email through that one, and we can talk about what we can do to it, and I'll give you a good price if you're in the U.S. I can't. I'm not gonna even bother trying to ship to Canada. My mom does a lot of shipping to Canada, and it is a pain. So if you're in the U.S., let me know, and I'll see what I can do for you.
I think I don't know if I even have an amp. I think I might have one in box somewhere.
I never even bothered getting any Ultra. I don't even have any Mega XL. I stopped playing with Nerf when I was like when I turned like 11 or something, and then 2 years ago I rediscovered the hobby, like the pro side of it, because I found the Out of Darts handbook that I had been gifted in lost time, and I decided, I have spare money, I'm gonna order something, and I ended up getting the Worker Hurricane, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is not much better, but it's better enough where I'm interested. And then I think the
Hmm.
next thing I bought was actually my Tryon, which was
Hmm.
that was a good first breast to the run on. Man, I'll tell
Yeah,
you what, that was fun. That was like because it gets like 202, yeah, about 210 with both spacers.
yeah.
So
No, it was a
going
fabulous
from
blaster, and it was one of the few blasters, spring powered blasters in that category, that power category, that has slam
mhm,
fire. You don't see a lot of slam fire in the high powered blasters until Dart Zone's latest series. Um, so the Striker Mark II has slam fire and hits around 200
mhm.
FPS out of the box. But yeah, the Tryon, for one, how cheap it was, and the fact that it had slam fire and good performance and was came with spacers to adjust it. It was just like, all right, yeah, well done, well done. But their pistol was a complete flop, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I bought that, kept it for 3 days, and sent it back. Out of Darts offered me a full refund on it. But yeah,
Yeah,
this is
that's
my
what I heard.
Tryon. I actually got two different of the 3D printed scars on it. I have
Nice.
this one and a green one. I bought the green one and it ended up being the wrong color, and I decided to go orange.
Hmm.
Worker pump grip. The next thing I'm going to do on it is the actual buffer tube stock and grip. Just
Yep.
because I mean this one isn't bad, but I feel like it could be better. And this
Hmm.
EOTech, I don't know who makes it, but I got it at FoamCon. Someone sold it to me for $10. They said they got it for an accuracy competition. It was used once. It was brand new in box, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it. $10, I could use
Yeah.
one. And man, I'll tell you what,
Good
it's
price.
good. Out of Darts actually was selling the an upgrade spring as well as a downgrade spring. I got the upgrade spring, and the next day they stopped offering it. So I don't know if something happened that they didn't tell me. So hopefully it won't, destroy itself. But with the upgrade spring and one spacer and the barrel that's in it now, it's getting like 220, like consistently. It is amazing. Uh, yeah, yeah. Look, I hope I'm saying your name right. Just send me an email. We'll see what we can work out. I'm open to pretty much anything. It just may take me a minute to do it. And the neat thing that I'm doing, if you want me to do a mod for a Braster that I have never done before, I won't. I'm cutting my fee out. So you just got to pay for parts. You don't have to pay for my time or anything, because I'm one of the reasons I'm doing commissions is because I want to learn more about the different Brasters and how to mod them. So if you're not comfortable doing it, just let me know and I'll figure out how to do it, and I will just charge you for the parts.
So there is a conversion kit for it on Thingiverse for the amp. That's fairly straightforward, and they've got a guide on what locks you need to remove. The Ultra series had a weird series of locks.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as bad as Vortex, but had a lot of locks. Um, they're easily removed. Oh, and it's got a geared pusher. Nice.
Oh, it's got a gear pusher. That'll be nice. That'll be nice and comfy.
Yeah, that'll be snappy. I wonder.
Oh, you're just iffy about cell cutting? Man, I got you for that. I mean, I do so much cell cutting, it's not even funny. I have brashers that have just been sitting in a bin for a year, and I'll just take it and think, okay, then this will prove it. My double strike, it broke, so I just took a bunch of plastic and literally glued it and burned it together, like melted it into a new hammer. And I mean, as you've seen on my redneck builds, I have no issue cutting stuff up. I will make it work. The Pharaoh short dart kit. I got to see one of the Pharaohs with the short dart kit at FoamCon. That was amazing. I didn't get to use it, but I got to, prime it back and hold it for a minute, and it was pretty nice. I ended up going with the Spring Thunder instead, which I overpaid for. Paid $160, not realizing that I could get it for a new one for 180, and I'm the fourth owner of it, and it doesn't work. The thing about it is, when you load in multiple cells into the magazine tube, and you prime it
Mm,
back, it'll feed more than one. And uh, other than that, it works. So you can single load it just fine, and it works fine. But loading them into the magazine tube, it just does not hold them in there right. So talking to Frontline Foam about getting that fixed.
yeah, I once again I got lucky. Mine was sent to me by Boomstick, and it works. Apparently, I put it together right, and it works. And I haven't had any parts break yet.
Mm.
Um, best
I
Philly
saw I saw it
cheesesteak
on the
with
table.
Philly.
I got there right when they opened. I was one of the first people through the doors, so they weren't even done setting up, and I was already buying stuff. Uh, After using it, I regret buying it. Honestly, it's not like bad, but it's not worth the money to me because I can't
No,
really use that in a game super conveniently. They had a
yeah,
Meowser there, and I should have gotten that. I don't know how much he wanted for it, but I should have picked that up because I've
Meowsers
been
go a
wanting a
long way.
Meowser ever since I saw yours. That was like it looked like Han Solo's pistol.
Yep, yep. What else we got going on in the world these days? Hoping to get down and see Art of Darts next week.
I've been wanting to go to his place for a while now.
It is a fun place to go. He has all of the best toys.
One of the big things was when I started this channel, I was like, well, if I get big enough, I'll actually get to meet these people and talk to them. And look at me now. I'm barely 150 people in, and I'm already talking to you. So,
Yeah.
mission
One of the cool
accomplished.
things about this hobby is it's a very, very inviting and very friendly hobby.
Surprisingly so.
For what it is, being it's still a shooting sport, but it doesn't tend to have nearly the toxicity of airsoft or paintball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how toxic paintball is, but paintball is incredibly competitive, and a lot of
Oh, yeah.
airs. Well, there's wonders out there. I've met some of them, but the downside to both is that you have to have a dedicated field. You can't play airsoft or paintball in a park or on a college campus
Or
or
even in your
you
home.
know, yeah, your home, your backyard. It's a lot more difficult. Whereas Nerf, because it's Nerf, because it's considered seen as being safe. We can do wars in public parks and college campuses and indoors and libraries and churches and all kinds of cool places you can Nerf. The forts up on the Puget Sound, Fort Flagler, Fort Worden, the forts down on the Columbia, Fort Washington. Um,
Yep, everybody just likes cool toys.
yeah, exactly. And our side of the hobby, right? The mod hobby and the competitive hobby is still very small, relatively speaking,
Mm-hmm.
but growing rapidly. And a lot of that is because of Dart Zone pushing the envelope on the amount of power at blasters in stores, and then Hasbro following suit finally. That's opening up that world that used to only be available to modders. If you didn't know how to mod your
Mm-hmm.
blaster, you really couldn't play with them because you're just going to get wrecked. But now you can go to Target and buy a Striker Mark II, and now you're hitting 200 FPS accurately out of the box. That's good enough for even our most competitive games. Maybe not something at like Apocalypse or not like Armageddon or APOC or BPOC or the capless games where they're firing 300 400 FPS blasters, but
Mm-hmm.
um, and a lot more companies are designing stuff specifically for HVZ now, and that makes that easier to get into. And there's more and more big events because it used to be the only big event was End War, and now End War isn't even the
Yep.
big event. Maryland Mayhem is now the big event. Ragnarok is a big event. Um, Survival Fest is a big event. Someday we'll hopefully get one up here in the Pacific Northwest. The problem is all the people up here are busy running all the big companies in the hobby.
Yep.
Silver Fox and Flux and Out of Darts and Walcom and them. Um,
It's crazy because I've been in the hobby for like a year and a half. I ordered my try on in, I want to say June of 2023, so a little bit over a year, and it's already changed so much. It's not even funny how much it's changed. It's just
yeah,
growing. Feel like we're finally getting to the point where you can like jump on the internet and accidentally stumble upon our hobby. Because I feel like in the past it's always been you had to know what you're looking for, but now it's so
yeah,
out there you could just stumble upon it.
and that's the aspect that I don't really understand about the big companies not pushing that aspect because Nerf is a $1 billion toy line. Darn near every household that's got a a young boy and even young girls have a Nerf blaster. But most
Oh
of
yeah.
them don't know that there's probably a Nerf club within an hour's drive of them. And so they don't go to those events. And the thing is, you buy one Nerf blaster, you have a Nerf blaster, you shoot it, around your apartment, and that's it. You find out that there's an event to go to, and suddenly you're out and you buy 20 Nerf blasters. And
Mm-hmm.
you'd think that the companies that are trying to sell Nerf blasters would be pushing the fact that there are places to go and play with these. But
Yeah,
Hasbro,
be able
not
to
a
bring in
peep
more
out of
customers.
Hasbro. Dart Zone is not officially really pushing it on any. You don't see like commercials of, look up your local Nerf club here, or find a club near you. They're not doing that, and it's weird because it would be the best advertisement. But
What
it
we
does
really
mean that
need
there
is for
are,
the World Family Alliance to partner up with Dart Zone, because I feel like
yeah,
Dart Zone would go for that. Hasbro, I don't think they would. They're too. I don't want to say stuck up, but stuck up. Um,
it
I feel
it,
like
it
Dart
needs to
Zone would
get
be
to a
much more
large enough
growing.
point. It needs to get to a point that it's genuinely influential, and we're slowly growing it. We're it's anything like that. It's going to take time to build. But somebody asked earlier, when is it going to come out of beta? I don't know. Um, Nobody knows. Um,
Are you helping them to code that? I figured you were with your background.
no, no, I am not, because I haven't done any serious coding in about a decade. Um, but they have asked, and it's like I might be willing to look at it, but I don't make any
Hmm.
promises. I would have to do a lot of research, but if it helps it get to where it needs to be, I might consider it. Uh, because yeah, that's the biggest thing, is people don't know how to find the club near them. And in most
Hmm.
cases, it's you'll go on Facebook, or go on Google and search Nerf Club. Because most people don't know about Dart Sweep IO, and they don't know about the World Foam Alliance. They don't know where to look, and a lot of it they don't realize that there is something to look for, because again,
Hmm.
the big companies selling the toys are not pushing the fact that our hobby exists. Um, and someone else mentioned two brilliant points. One, how varied our hobby is, because we've got HVZ, we've got public Nerf wars, we've got competitive wars, they've got extreme LARP stuff. All of that uses Nerf blasters, dart blasters, and they're all completely different. The blasters you would use in competitive are not the same blasters that you're likely to use in HVZ. Are not necessarily the blasters you'd use in a public Nerf war.
Hmm.
And none of them might be the stuff you would take to something like Afterworlds, because Afterworlds requires your blasters to look realistic. Whereas
Oh,
all of
really?
those
I
other
didn't know
groups,
that.
yeah, because it's a LARP. Everything is supposed to be looking realistic, and if everyone's in really in awesome costumes, and the monsters are getting into character, and then you just have a orange Nerf blaster, it ruins the immersion.
Hmm.
Um, imagine if you were watching you um, a John Wick film, and instead of using realistic looking guns, they were all using Nerf blasters.
Yeah. Yep.
It would ruin the whole movie. Um, that happens in LARP because it's supposed to be like you're in a movie or a video game, um, and so those places will often require the blasters to look realistic. Whereas the entire rest of the hobby, you're not allowed to have the blaster look realistic
Yeah.
for
It's
very
too
good reason.
dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, it brings it's a danger to you. It's a danger to the other people at the event. It's a danger to the event itself, because if something goes down, suddenly the city doesn't let people bring Nerf blasters into the park, and suddenly you don't have anywhere
Hmm.
to have your event, and your whole thing gets shut down. There's
It
good
can ruin
reasons we
everything
don't
for
want our
everybody.
blasters looking real. And there's a reason that LARPs want them to look real, but the LARPs all take place on private property where that's not a risk. The other thing that someone brought up that's brilliant, that's what's so cool about Nerf, is the tinkering. It is the modding. It teaches you, about air pressure. It teaches you about wiring. It teaches you about, RPM and current and voltage. And there's so much that you can learn from the engineering of Nerf blasters that is very much all STEM stuff. Huge amounts of what I know about, that helped me get really good at modding really quickly was that I had been tinkering with stuff before. I'd taken electrical engineering classes, I'd taken computer engineering classes, I'd been doing making armor for years, so I had a lot of the tools necessary to
Hmm.
cut shells. Because if it'll cut steel, it'll cut plastic. So I already had bandsaw and belt sanders and bench grinders and all of those things, which are incredibly useful for modding. I already had all of those tools, and so it made it very easy to jump into modding. That can be one of the hardest parts in getting seriously into modding. Is tools can be expensive. Good tools
Oh,
are
yeah.
expensive. Bad tools lead to bad mods. If you got a bad soldering iron, it doesn't matter how good how much you know about soldering. You can't solder well with a bad soldering iron. And when I first started, I didn't know how to solder, and I had a bad soldering iron, so my hot solders were atrocious. Uh, Yes, WFA is still in beta. We talked about that. But there is some stuff that can be gleaned from that. We're working on it.
Hey, Strong Arm, how you doing, man? General Strife, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in a while.
You know, somebody said that airsoft is too realistic, and it's both very realistic and at the same time hilariously unrealistic. The fact that you can
Mm-hmm.
have a magazine in an AR that holds 500 rounds is absurdly unrealistic. The fact that all of the blasters are practically silent is absurdly unrealistic. And yet they look realistic and they dress realistic and they have really cool fields that they play on. And so it's weird to me that they don't seem to accept that what they're doing is also playing with toys.
Mm-hmm. They take it
That
too
airsoft guns,
seriously.
yeah, they take it very seriously, or they look down at the Nerf hobby because we're playing with toys, and you're like, you're using a
Mm-hmm.
plastic BB gun, kid. It's still a toy. It's like, yeah, but it hurts. And like, dude, if that's what you're into, cool. But Helga could get you a lot better pain for a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
Um,
you want something that hurts? Try getting shot at a cow with a caliburn that's getting like what 474. Someone in
yeah,
one of
I
my
mean, our,
first live streams was talking about that. It's like I didn't even know that was possible, but
oh yeah, the Nerf darts have a lot more mass, and so if you get them going faster,
it probably.
they sting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, I before I got into Nerf, I did medieval recreation where we hit each other in the head with actual metal axes. Now we wore armor, but um, I got I got all kinds of bruises and injuries from that, mostly from my own armor not fitting as well as it should, or a lucky shot hitting me somewhere I wasn't armored, like the armpit, because it's very hard to
Mm-hmm.
armor your armpit. And when you take a pike to the armpit, it ruins your day. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I've done hobbies that were dangerous and painful and manly and tough and all of that, and now I'm old and I just want to play with foam toys,
Yep.
and I get to, and it's lovely. And I get to travel the world and talk to new people and get more people into the hobby. But yeah, if you want to come visit, it's just a matter of scheduling.
Yeah.
Most of the guys up here
So
are perfectly willing to have visitors. It's just a matter of are they available. Um, I host people. I've had people come visit. I've had people from all over the world. Even I've had people from England come visit. I've had people from Australia, people from the U.S., people from Canada. I have a bunkhouse for a reason.
yeah, I've been wanting to come up there for I don't know 8 months maybe. I just have to. I need to find the time when I can plan the trip because it won't just be me. It'll be like my whole family going. It'll be a big like family vacation situation. So it's just trying to plan it with everybody else. It's gonna be rough. I really want to though. I will make it up there someday. You just wait.
Yeah, and,
The
and that has
awkward
also
part.
had people have like whole families have come to visit, and well, because they were coming to visit the Pacific Northwest, it's a beautiful place to come for a vacation. You can see the Space Needle and
Hmm.
all kinds of stuff around here to see. Um, so yeah, that is also perfectly acceptable.
Do you ever talk to people in your community that don't know you and don't know the hobby, and they just think that what you're doing is weird? Like you're like, oh, I mod Nerf brushes, and they're like, okay, and then they just slowly back away.
Oh yeah, no, I anytime you talk to somebody who doesn't know anything about the hobby, they find it kind of odd that you do Nerf
Hmm.
stuff, and then I explain to them, or try to explain to them, like, no, it's a lot bigger and more
It's a
interesting hobby than
thing.
you think.
It's a thing. I'm not just some
It's a
weirdo in
thing.
my
Like,
basement.
no, it's very legitimate. I've been on Discovery Channel. I've been on Vice News. I've toured Europe. It's it's not just I'm a weirdo in the middle of nowhere with my toys. I've gone places with it. I've traveled the U.S. to big events.
Hmm.
It's neat. The Vice News interview is still one of the most baffling things I've been involved in. um, and we were all very trepidatious about it because the last time a major journalist, organization had done a piece on the Nerf hobby, it made us look like a bunch of lunatics. Um, it was not a good piece, and I'm glad my face is not shown. Or my I think it mentioned my real name but not my channel name, or my channel name but not my real name, whatever it was.
Mm.
Um, it wasn't good. And so when Vice News reached out, and seeing how Vice News does, they're usually doing really hard hitting, very serious, very you know doom and gloom type stuff. We were like, this can't be good. But when I talked to the producer, he's like, no, here's what I'm looking for. We're actually trying to do a non heavy, horrible. We want to do
Mhm.
something fun. We want to, do something still hobby related, but happy, fully gun hobby related thing. And
Yep.
reluctantly, I agreed. The other people in the Pacific Northwest, the big names, weren't willing to do it, and I agree with them 100%. Out of Darts and Silver Fox, and the people who make their living on the hobby, they couldn't risk being involved in it if it ended up being a hit
Mhm.
piece, because it would have negatively affected their livelihood, and so they didn't want to be involved. And so it was just the crew. And what are they going to do? Us let everyone know that we're a bunch of Nerf mercenaries? That's just true. It's not going to hurt our feelings about them telling the truth about us. And then it ended up being an incredibly positive piece. And a lot of
Yeah.
people
I
actually use it. Like, if you want to explain our hobby to someone, have them watch the Vice News article. It
I didn't think
explains
I
it
haven't
very,
thought
very
about
well.
doing that, but that's what I'm gonna do from now on. I remember I watched that and it was like, oh wow, even for me. I mean, I watched it a couple. I was still pretty like just got into it, but I watched that and it really like I went back and watched it a second time right after. It was just full of information, super helpful information. It explained everything in great detail.
Yeah, and they had so much fun because they got to come out and play in my arena. And originally it was just the the guy, the main character, the main guy, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. Um, but by the end of it, the producer and both of the camera women got in and played as well, just to blow off steam, and they had an absolute blast because they got to shoot their boss in the face. And uh, it was really, really cool. Everyone had fun.
Yeah. I hope that one day I'll be able to have some property and set something up like that.
Yeah, that was a huge thing for me, was being able to get my own place, and have a shop that was large enough, and have an area where I could build an arena, and have a place where I could build the range. And that was a huge leap forward in what I wanted to do, because before I was in a cramped little shed in the middle of town. um, and that was lovely. So, um, in some ways, I wish I had more. Like, I've got more land, but it's not usable because it's marshy and covered in blackberries.
Mm,
And I've got another section that I could build on, but it borders two neighbors who might not appreciate me building, a wood palisade arena
yep.
bordering their yard. But maybe they wouldn't care. I don't know. One of them's moving anyway, so now would be the time before the new people move in. Um,
You got any new exciting videos coming out soon?
I've got. I was working on modding, or I did actually mod my torrent, and I need to
Mm.
finish editing and take that to the range and test it some more. All right, now I needed XD60 connectors so I could wire it for lipo. Um,
The
the
torrents? The
biggest thing that
torrents is Springer.
then yeah, the sender. I modded my sender. I need to get the parts to mod the torrent. I need to ping Xfox and go, oi, send me the thing.
Oh, you
Um,
don't got to do that. I mean, I, I I'm cheap, which you will find out when you watch my videos. But I just took a Dremel to it and I just dremeled it out until it fit. And once I found one that I liked, I just put a little bit of super glue in there. It works fine.
yeah, but Xfox lives 15 minutes from me and gives me all this stuff for free. So
Oh, oh
I'm cheap too. I'm cheaper than you.
yeah.
You get big enough, you don't have to pay for stuff anymore. It's fabulous.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Someday, keep it up. You never know. I never thought I'd get to that point, and yet here I am.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but the other thing that I fixed on it was I didn't like the trigger. It had the same problem that the Strife X had, and then it had a really heavy trigger because they put a tension spring on the pusher. So yeah, it's got a
Hmm.
geared pusher, which is really cool, but you then have the spring working against the gears. And so you still end up with a really heavy trigger pull, but it turns out you could use the stock spring, cut it down a little bit, move it to a different part of the shell, and it fixes it completely. Suddenly it's got a trigger like a hailfire again, just super
Really?
snappy, responsive trigger. So much different. But because
I
the
never did
trigger is so
anything
much
to mine.
snappy, yeah, see, and that was the one complaint I had. It was I didn't like the trigger pull, but it's really easy to fix. You take the spring off of the tension spring off of the pusher and double up the trigger spring. Problem solved. Not really problem solved, but it makes it so much better. And I was
Really?
able
I
to do
thought
the same thing
I
with the
thought it was
sender.
real good the way it was.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's good the way it was, and yet it can be so much better.
I may have
Um,
to try that now.
it's real simple mod. All you have to have is a trigger spring from another blaster to double it up, and you need to double it up because otherwise, just the trigger spring doesn't have enough force to overcome the friction from the follower in the magazine, and the pusher will get stuck by the darts.
Mm,
So you need a strong enough spring to be able to get it to come back. Um, and that was the trick with the sender as well. Is okay, how short do I need to cut the original spring to get it to have enough power in the new location? Again, super simple mod, makes a world of difference. And then I want to wire it for lipo, which I either need to find that order of XT60 connectors or I need to just order some more because I've run out again.
I may do that. I
Thought
may
I
do that for
had
my next live stream. I'll try and do one every Friday. I'm thinking about moving it earlier in the day though, because I got there's somebody who lives in Hong Kong, I think it is, and if I do it more around 1, 2 p.m. my time, he'll be able to watch, and then it'll be a little bit earlier for me because it's like 7 now. But I know that is late for most people. But when I get up at 6 a.m. and I'm on my feet all day, so it's tiring to be on at night thinking.
yeah, yeah, it's only 4 for me because I'm on the West Coast. Um, Yeah. Other videos that I have. Somebody asked me to do a destructive or a relatively destructive test on some of the on Dart Zones and Hasbro's iPro, and it actually
That'll be
sounds like
good.
a good video doing hitting them with 200 FPS blasters at point blank range just to see how well they hold up. Um, and I like that. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do some slow motion footage. Um, and I do want to do a review of the long wang darts, and I want to do a review of Dart Zone's darts from their original Pro darts to their Gen 2 Pro darts to the new Nitro Plus darts.
That'll be good to see too. I need to venture out and get some different dart types. I've been using Worker Gen 3 since I started in the hobby, and I should buy new ones for testing because I don't even have a new dart. I use darts in all of my testing, so I need to get more and try some different types.
Yeah, there's so much variety now too. Because I mean, you've got the Walmart darts, which are the black and orange darts, the Adventure Force. You've got the red and grays at Target. They're very similar. You've got Worker Gen 3s, and then you've got all of the Dart Zone Pro darts
Hmm.
in all of their variety. Yeah, there's no shortage of half darts now, which is
I think I'm just
nice.
gonna buy a pack of each, a brand new pack of each, and pick one Fire Blaster and one Springer, and just have at it. See what has the best FPS, the best accuracy, and just see what I like the best out of all of them.
Yeah, and that's the
Which
thing is, um, you'd be amazed how much of a difference um, different darts will make in a blaster. Like just going to bamboo darts can up your FPS by anywhere from 20 to 50 FPS just by
oh
switching
yeah,
to those darts. But in some cases, your range and accuracy will go down. because of the nature of the darts. And you really have to. It's good to have a variety of darts because you'll sometimes discover one dart works really good in one blaster, but not the other one, and so you got to know which blaster to put which darts in.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to be able to build your blasters to be less specific, you have to tune them to be able to use a variety of darts. Because in a lot of events, they're going to have just a bin of loner darts in. It's going to have 12 different kinds of darts in there. And if your blaster will only fire one particular one well, you're going to have to dig through and find them, or you're going to have to bring your own. Whereas if you can build the blaster to be able to use anything, then you can use anything.
Yep. That's what I did with my Game Face Tryon, because I'm planning on using that as my primary at Atlanta Blaster Club, and their cap is 200, and if used Worker Gen series, it's getting like 170s. So right in there, perfectly in my opinion. Tried a
Yeah,
couple different things.
yeah, that's one thing, especially for like HVZ, public nerf wars and HVZ. You don't need to be right at the limit necessarily.
Oh yeah,
For competitive,
you can
God,
use wiggle room.
yeah, and in HVZ, it's always a good idea to go under, because one thing a lot of people don't take into account, and I've seen this happen at every HVZ I've been to, is they will tune their blaster to be like, if the limit is 120, they'll have their blaster hitting 119 exactly.
Yep.
Perfectly 119, every shot 119. And then they'll travel to the other side of the country and fire it, and it's hitting 125. And it's over the limit and they can't use it. And they don't understand why. And then because like if they were tuning their blaster in Colorado, where the air is thinner, and then they go to sea level, it might hit hotter. Or if you're
Mm-hmm.
somewhere that's very damp and your inner your barrel always has sweat, and then you go somewhere very dry, that's going to affect your FPS.
I never even thought
Temperature
about
can
any of
affect
that.
your temperature will affect your barrel. Temperature will affect your wheels. Temperature will affect your batteries. Um, and so if you don't have the ability to tune your blaster, 10, 20 FPS up or down, there's a good chance you might find yourself somewhere and your blaster is no longer allowed to be used. That's why the variety, my HVZ kit, I've got a proton pack, which has never hit over 100. So I'm not worried about that. And then I've got an FTL3 and two pew-pews, which are both infinitely adjustable. So I never have to worry about, not being able to tune my blaster. But a lot of people who have a well-tuned Caliburn, it's hard to tune a Caliburn 10 FPS one way or the other, which is why it's really nice to have things, a lot of the Dart Zone blasters have the end cap that just comes off. It's easier to
Yep.
swap in a spring or take out a spacer or put in a spacer. Or you can have an end cap that's adjustable. That's a really cool feature. It doesn't adjust it much, but again, 10 FPS one way or the other can make all the difference to being under the FPS cap. So one of the I like modularity. I like my things to be able to be easily adjusted, and that's one of the reasons. And you can get that much of a variance just with different darts,
Yeah.
which is neat, but also kind of a problem when they came out with lighter and heavier darts, because there was the concern that somebody would take heavier darts to get the FPS reading because they go slower because they're heavier, but then switch to lighter darts to get a higher FPS when they actually take the field. And
Yep.
yes, you could do that,
And
but if you
it's
get
kind of
caught,
hard to catch them doing that.
but if
Nobody
you
will
do
be
get
able to
caught,
tell.
you're gonna get banned,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's plus it's just a
Is
dick
it
thing to
really
do. Don't
worth
do
it?
that. It's just cheating. Don't do it. But that's one of the things that was a concern. But then there's also concern of, what if you bought, heavy darts or whatever, and then you went to an event, but you ended up scavenging darts and you ended up with light darts. That's not malicious, but that was the concern. But
Mm-hmm.
when people actually started thinking about it, different companies' darts have varied, almost a half a gram one way or another. Um, Dart Zones, they're pro darts. Their original pro darts were 1 gram even, but then the Gen 2s were 0.75 grams. And now the Nitro darts are 1 gram again. That's as much variance as the heavy worker darts have between regular worker darts, heavy darts, and light. So
Oh yeah.
it's not like it's a new thing. It was just, it came to our attention that Oh yeah. If I have a blaster that's hitting 150 FPS with heavy darts, that's not the same amount of force as a blaster that's getting 150 FPS with light darts. The heavy darts are going to hit harder because they're heavier. They're both traveling the same speed, but one has more mass, which means it has more energy, which means it hurts more. And I was just like, okay, well, now what are we supposed to do? And it was like, it's Nerf. It's not that much of a difference. Let's just move
Yeah.
on. Um, but it's interesting to see how much the hobby has changed since I first got into it. When I got into it, we hadn't even gotten to lipos yet. It was still trust fires and IMRs. And now, of course, if you mention trust fire or IMR, people just absolutely panic that you're going to burn your house down, which you can if you use it wrong. But the same thing is true of lipos, and lipos hold
Hmm.
way more energy, but they're more stable. You know, it's harder to use a lipo wrong, but you still can if you do your wiring badly.
I had to
Uh,
learn the hard way with rifles. I had one that I didn't use it for 3 months or use it consistently or charge it. I was using it to just fire a dart off every now and then one day I went to use it and it wouldn't work. And then I went to charge it, it wouldn't work. And I found out that if you leave it, you're supposed to put it in storage mode, which I had a basic
yeah, it
charger, so I didn't know there
yeah
was a such thing as that.
yeah, and if they drain too far, they won't recharge because if
Hmm.
they drain past a certain point, the chemistry becomes unstable, which is why the charger won't let you. You can get a dumb charger and it'll charge it, but you risk damaging the battery, and
Yep.
then it becomes extremely dangerous. Um, yeah, I remember one getting any blaster to hit over 100 FPS was considered impressive, and now we have trouble getting blasters to hit under 150.
Hmm.
A wild world we live in. I remember when the only half darts were either people cutting darts down or making them from scratch, and now you buy them at Walmart. Read the
Someone
chat.
asked what new things have been added to the WFA website.
I have no idea. I haven't been there. World
I don't think they
phone.
understand that I, for one, am not included. I've been trying to get on the Foam Zone or the Get Off My Lawn, and on. I've even tried signing up for the Foam's Giving stream. I'm not on any social media, so they won't talk to me. Uh, Captain here,
Yeah, you,
he's involved, but he isn't involved in every aspect. We have no clue what's going on the website. I know I, for one, have been asking for a forum section and like a chat box
they
area on it, but
they are
that's a lot of
not going to
coding.
do a forum because one, Discord already exists and Facebook
Mm.
already exists, and there's nowhere they're going to do a forum as well, and they would have to have full time moderators, and they're just not prepared to do that because they don't want to, because they know they can't do it as well as Discord or Facebook can, and so why try to reinvent the wheel badly? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't want to draw people away from the Facebook clubs and the Discord clubs. They want to help people find the Facebook clubs and the Discord clubs. The World Foam Alliance is not trying to be the central hub of all things Nerf. They don't have the resources for that. They don't have the maniacal Machiavellian ambition to do that. The goal is to help people find things that already exist because they do. The Facebook clubs are out there, the Discord clubs are out there, the Nerf clubs are out there. It's just people don't know where to go. And if
Mm-hmm.
we have something like the World Foam Alliance that is very organized, very neutral, but very legitimate, then there's the hope that we can get companies like Hasbro and Dart Zone to say, join the World Foam Alliance and find the nearest club near you. And if they throw that into the end of a commercial on, mainstream television, the hobby is going to grow exponentially. But
Oh
we
yeah.
have to have that. We have to have that built first, and it has to be solid, and it has to be reliable, and it has to actually be connected. And that's why it's taking time to get all of that put together. They're collecting the data, they're getting the clubs, they're getting the members, and then they're trying to figure out the underlying database stuff. And how much information do we give out? We don't want to be giving out random people's email addresses or home addresses.
Yep.
So there has to be a way that people can connect to each other without, doxing each other, as it were. Obviously, clubs don't mind having their Facebook group, made public or that. But if there's a small town somewhere where there's 5 different people that have signed in and there isn't a club, how do we connect those 5 people so they can start a club?
Yeah.
And that's
the
what we're
difficult
trying to
part.
figure out. What's the legal way to do that? What's the safe way to do that? What's the efficient way to do that? That's complicated because if we do it wrong, bad things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a World Foam Alliance subreddit. Of course there is. I try to
I
avoid
checked it
Reddit.
once.
It
There
is
was. I don't even think there was anything posted this year.
probably not.
I think there was a.
Yeah.
I think there was a fandom made once, but I think it died after the first day.
Yeah, see, annoyingly, that's how the old auxiliary formed. Was somebody just decided to create a Discord, and you're like, if I don't get involved in this, I'm going to be associated with it, no matter how horrible it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got involved, and I slightly regret it. Good things came of it, but a lot of stress came of it too.
I'll probably end up getting Discord sooner or later. I'm not a big fan of social media. It's personal reasons, and but if my channel gets big enough and it gets to a certain point where I feel like it's required, I will end up getting it. And
yeah, and that's
we'll
the
see
thing is,
what happens from there.
unfortunately, it is. There's no way to escape it. If you want to be an influencer, you have to have a way for people to contact you so that you can influence them. It's also the way that we organize things. I mean, if you want to be involved in the get on either Foam Zone or Get Off My Lawn, we use Microsoft Teams, which is a social media platform. If you want to be involved in Foam's Giving, that's all done through Discord, which is a social media platform. Thank goodness none of us are using Facebook as our primary thing, but
Good to know. Good to know Discord over Facebook, though.
Yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Discord was designed for one thing and keeps getting used for other. Facebook the same way. I miss Yahoo groups, honestly. Let's see what do we got. What about fandom? I'm chatting here. It's one of the clubs I actually like. What is fandom? Is that another social media? Anytime somebody says I was banned for no reason, I'm always extremely suspicious.
Yeah. Yep.
But
I know the Nerf Reddit is extremely bad about that, where they get very upset over very, very little things. And it's usually just misunderstandings.
That is the worst thing about the internet is human language is not context free. And the black and white of text is. Because I could say the exact same words to you, and they would mean something completely different if I said them to my little brother. I could say the exact same words to a stranger, and it would mean completely different things than if I said it to my best friend. And how you interpret what somebody says, because tone of voice, facial expression, body language, all of this is part of human communication. But all of that is lost in text. There is no way to fully express all of that in a text. I mean, sometimes people will put a sticky out tongue emoji or /S to try to explain that I'm not being serious. This is meant as a joke. But there's multiple ways of telling a joke. You can tell a joke that's meant to be mean. You can tell a joke that's meant to be funny. You can tell a joke that's meant to be encouraging. And who you say it to, and when you say it, and why you say it, and how you say it. None of that comes across in text. And so you can say something in text and it be completely misinterpreted. And then when you try to explain yourself, you come off as defensive, and the other person is already angry. And so they're whatever you say. There's a great Key and Peele bit about that where they're texting, and one guy is just completely chill and is like, "Yeah, man, whatever," and the other guy's like, "Whatever, whatever. You, how could you?" And you're like, "Yeah, we're cool, man. Yeah, like, oh, we're cool. We're." It's like,
Mm-hmm.
my God, I've seen this on every forum, every chat group, every comment section. It's like, which is why I rarely comment on things anymore, because you know it's going to be taken wrong. Um, uh, which, yeah, the internet is great for the transmission of data. So if I
Mm-hmm.
want to tell you the event is at 5 o'clock at this park on this day, the internet is brilliant for that. I can send a message, the message is sent. But trying to have a
Clean cut,
serious
simple.
discussion about moral and philosophical things, the internet is the worst thing that has ever been made for bringing humanity closer together. Um, Tragic. I have, and even in my own comments, I have to stop when, like, someone will make a comment, and I'll read it, and it will sound either rude or stupid or something, and then I'll stop and go, wait a minute, this could be an 8-year-old who genuinely doesn't know anything. I
Mm-hmm.
probably shouldn't assume they're a 35-year-old who is just being a dick. And until I can determine whether they are somebody who just doesn't know what they're talking about or somebody who's being a jerk, I should probably try to be nice.
Be nice
And
and
I
just
have
ignore it.
failed that in the
That's what I
past.
do.
There is somebody out there who, every time I post a video, they dislike it immediately. And it's because I said
Really?
something mean to them in the comments, and I can't even get mad. And you're like, no, I said that mean thing. I deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird hobby of his. It's just every time he's still subscribed, and just you look at my videos and I'll have 99% like 99, 99, 99, 99, because one person is disliking my videos. You're like, pretty sure it's the same guy, and I'm pretty sure I said something mean, and he's still mad about it, and that's fair. I had one guy who I said something rude, or I said something, and he took it as rude, like 3 years ago. And then in someone else's video, he mentioned that I'd said something rude. And so I tracked down the comment that I'd originally said, and I went like, oh, yeah, that does sound really rude. So
Yep.
I replied and commented like, I absolutely, you're right. That was rude of me. I was out of line, and I apologize. He's like, I've never had anyone apologize to me on the internet. I don't know what to do now. So how did you said you when did you were into Nerf when you were a kid, and then you got out of it, and then you got back in, um,
Yeah.
and now you're finally going to get to go to your first event. When is the event?
August 11th. It is the fundraiser for Arena Nebraska Club.
Nice.
And then I've got all the paperwork and everything done, so I'm set for that, and I'm hoping to start going every month. It's every second Saturday, I think, and I'm super excited for that because they have 200 FPS games. Because my
Yeah.
problem with like Inwar and stuff is most of my stuff is modded to be over 130, but now I have the issue that most of it's under 200. So I'm like, I need to get right. I need to get a little bit higher and a little bit lower.
Yeah, it's that is the downside to multi FPS events.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we occasionally run into that at the event we run, Fort Borst, because we will sometimes run 3 different FPS caps at one event, and that's a lot of
Gets
logistics.
confusing.
Because for most of our standard PvP, it's 150, but during lunch we do 200 FPS stuff, which is it's basically we run competitive style games where it's 3v3. It's very controlled. It's very limited. We can do a higher FPS, and we're not worried about people getting hurt. And then if we do HVZ, we lower it to 130.
Mm-hmm.
And some people like that, and some people don't. And the downside of having to bring multiple blasters that are different FPSs. Other people just they bring their FDL3 and they can use it for all of it.
Yep.
You know,
Problem with the FDL3 is it's like $700. Not
yeah,
everybody
it's
has that.
impossible. Yeah, it's impossible to get anymore. I had to smuggle my second one in from Denmark.
My plan is I'm gonna have my primary getting around 180, and I'm gonna take a secondary that gets under 150 because they have two different style of gameplay that I'm aware of, where they have 200 FPS for like 5v5, and then 150 for HVZ. So if my
Yeah,
primary is I can use both for the 200, and then I have the secondary that I can use for the 150, and then I have backup stuff that I can use as well. I'm going to be taking a lot of my correction actually for me using, and then I have quite a few things that I built for my personal correction that I'm going to try and sell for funds for new builds.
yeah,
So I'm going to have a trunk road.
it'll
The
be fun.
great thing about them though is you don't have to bring your own darts. They have darts and they actually have them sorted. So I just one less thing for me to worry about.
About r/if this is why I avoid a festering cesspool of humanity, and
Mm.
I try to avoid it as much as possible. Um, but same could be used to be. You could say that for a lot of the Facebook groups. 8 years ago, a lot of the Nerf Facebook groups were real toxic, but that culture seems to have changed greatly um, as the years have gone by, and a lot of it, I think, has been the fact that back in the early days, it was still all NIC stuff. It was all hardware store mods and the hard mods, and there was a lot of gatekeeping of if you don't know if you can't get your blaster hitting 150 FPS or 200 FPS, you don't even belong here. And now anyone can go to Walmart and buy a blaster that hits 200 FPS. It makes
Yep.
it really hard to be a gatekeeper anymore, and I'm here for it. I like that it's easy for anybody to be able to get into that. And I understand the people who had to do it the hard way, feeling like, well, all the time I did was wasted. And you're like, no, you're the reason that those companies made blasters that hit that hard.
The reason this
If
all
you hadn't,
exists.
all of this exists because of the old NIC pushing the limits of what you could do with Nerf.
And it's not like they
Um,
have to
and
change too. I mean, they can keep their group the way they want, and everybody else can keep moving on and improving and changing, or
yeah,
they can just jump in with the rest of us. I mean, we're not trying
yeah,
to look down on anybody.
yeah, and that goes back to something I said earlier, and that there's so much variety on our hobby. There's competitive, there's casual Nerf wars, there's HVZ, there's LARP, there's people who just do it for the tinkering. They don't even
Mm.
go to Nerf wars. They just like tinkering and making blasters for other people. Um, you know, the Pew Pew is one of the finest blasters that we have in the hobby. Pewtek's never been to a Nerf war. I met him
Really,
in Switzerland. He's tried. There are Nerf clubs in Switzerland. It's just his work schedule has never allowed him to get to one.
that is so surprising.
Um,
I never would have guessed that. I know you
yeah,
can't
no,
really
me
get a
and
pew pew. You have to enter a raffle, and then if you win the raffle, it's like $1,000 or something.
yeah, I got in when they were still cheap. I got Pew Pews number 12 and 13. Um, and yeah, I got to meet him in Switzerland last year. We went and we had pizza. It was awesome. Um, there's a fabulous discussion going on. Um, favorite burger chain.
Ooh, you see, we're on different sides of the country though, so I doubt we have the
Yeah,
same
that's the
stuff.
thing. No, we almost certainly don't.
I'm gonna guess
Um,
In and Out or White Castle for you.
no, God, no. I don't think we even
Really?
have In and Out or White Castle in the Pacific Northwest.
I need to figure out what type of food y'all got over there before I go. Um, for me, it's Five Guys. That's my favorite burger place.
We do have Five Guys up here.
I don't eat there a lot because it's greasy and too many of those in a month and you'll die of a heart attack. But every once
Yeah.
in a while, it's good. They have the best fries.
Let's see, is there an In and Out in the Pacific Northwest? No. Closest In and Out is in Salem, Oregon. There's a place called Out and About Burgers. But we do have Five Guys. Do we have White Castle?
as long as no one says Burger King. I've never even
Why is
eaten
it?
at a Burger King. Funny enough,
No,
never
there
thought about it.
there does not appear to be White Castle in the Pacific Northwest either. My favorite is A&W.
Never heard of it.
You've never heard of A&W root beer? Weird.
But I'll have to
It's
try it if I
the
ever make
biggest
it up there.
brand of root beer. No, A&W is a major root beer brand, and they have their own restaurants, um,
Hmm.
and they are delicious.
I don't drink a lot of. I don't. Don't just jump out of this live stream because you're offended by what I'm about to say, Captain. But I
Oh
don't
dear.
like root beer.
Not everyone does. It's an acquired taste. Europe doesn't like it at all.
It's just I don't know what
Uh,
it is. It's just something about it I don't like. I don't really
yeah.
drink. I don't drink soft drinks. But if I do drink a soft drink, it'll be a Mountain Dew or Dr Pepper. Those are the two.
Hmm. Um, there is, if you ask people in the Seattle area what their favorite um, burger joint is, there's a really good chance that they're going to say Dick's. There is a burger chain in the Seattle area called Dick's Burgers, and it is really quite good. And in the Seattle area, telling someone to go eat a bag of Dick's is, in fact, considered a compliment.
Oh no, it's pizza. Well, what's your favorite pizza place, Captain?
Pizza, Pizza Hut, no, no,
Really?
no
No
question.
local places?
Stuffed crust Pizza Hut. That's my go-to.
Mine would be Jet's Pizza because they have the best deep dish pizza ever. Or there's a local place that I like.
Hmm.
Really good, expensive but good.
There is
Good
a
pizza.
decent local joint for me too. Safari. No, Sahara. It's either Sahara or Safari. I can never remember which. But they're not bad. They are the closest pizza joint to me. They're only 15 miles north. Because I live in the middle of nowhere.
I wanted to ask. So, for those who don't understand, we had a bit of an issue getting the stream set up, mainly on my half. But I wanted to ask Captain, how does the Get Off My Lawn? How do they do it? Do they just do it through YouTube? Do they do like a Zoom meeting and stream it, or do they use the StreamYard that you suggested?
They use Microsoft Teams.
I've never heard of that. Honestly, is it just
Yeah, it's Microsoft Teams. It's
hmm,
Microsoft's team conferencing streaming service. Man down! What? You're blinked.
what happened?
Um,
My
I don't know.
Wi-Fi
You're
is
blinked.
super bad, and my phone's actually gonna die sometime soon. Time to wrap it up.
Well, that'll be the end of the stream. The host goes down, the stream's over. Um, yeah, the World Film Alliance uses Teams because through that they're able to do things like the call-in number.
Hmm.
Um, they can easily bring in guests just by sending them a link. It's got a lot of administrative tools. We can have somebody who's managing the stream who can talk to the people who are on the stream, but the audience can't hear them,
Hmm.
which is really handy. It's just got a lot of really good tools because there is actually a team. When we talk about the man behind the curtain, there's several people who are helping make those streams run as smoothly as they do.
I know this may be a bit of a reach, but like I said, I'm not on Discord or anything. So, do you think there's a way I could be scheduled to be on, like a guest host or something, on Get Off My Run through you, or
Yeah,
do I just need to wait?
yeah. Now that can be arranged potentially. I'll have to see when our next opening is. We had a couple of weeks where we didn't have a guest, so
Or let me know
and
because
sometimes
I'm open most weeks as of right now, at least. Things will probably change in the next couple months. But if I put you down, I'll make sure I make time.
yeah. I will put you on the list.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I've been wanting to be on for a while, but every time I was asking in the comments, everybody was saying I had to go through Discord, and I'm really just I have a thing with social media, so if I can stay off it for as long as possible, I'm going to.
Yeah, we should be able to still get you on. I will have to talk to the man behind the curtain.
All right. Well, you have my email address, and my official email for the channel is in my profile. So if
Cool.
you somehow lose
Cool.
it, my other one's there. No,
Now we're just talking about
we're on
how dare
Subway
you
now.
speak ill
Food.
of Subway. It is the largest fast food chain on the planet.
I don't know about that. My
No,
favorite, my favorite is Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's is my favorite.
I
I'm
didn't
actually
say it
looking to
was
get a
the
job
best.
there in August.
I didn't say it was the best. I said it was the largest.
Oh,
There are
well,
more
what's your
Subways
favorite then?
in. No, I actually like Subway, but I only ever get the same sandwich, so I really can't talk to the
Yeah,
quality of the rest. No, there are more Subways than any other. There's more Subways than McDonald's.
really
Um, because you can have Subways in places you can't have a McDonald's. Because Subway doesn't have to have a grill.
true,
So you can
true.
easily have a Subway in a gas station. You can have a Subway in a mall. You can have a Subway in, you know, Walmart. You can have a Subway, and there's WalMarts with Subways. There's the gas station that's 3 miles from my house has a Subway.
Yep.
So it's the largest franchise, but there are definitely better subs out there. They are the the bottom. They're the fast foodie of the fast foods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put Subway above probably any other sub, especially a small mom and pop deli. They're gonna have much better
Oh
bread. They're
yeah.
gonna have better quality cheese. They're gonna have better quality toppings. Um, but going back to the pizza, best pizza I've ever had was actually in Italy, even though pizza
Big
isn't Italian.
surprise. Not.
Well, it's weird because the pizza's American. We invented pizza. They
That's a
just
big misunderstanding that people have. Pizza is not, at least our style of pizza isn't from Italy. They have a completely different style of pizza than we do here.
yes. Um,
I think
what
the
we
closest
call
thing we
pizza.
probably have to like true Italian pizza would probably be like a margarita pizza, or what the one where it's almost deep dish, but it's like stacked upside down or something.
Yeah, that's a lot of the more interesting deep dish pizza and like stuffed crust pizza. Apparently, I'm slightly off. Apparently, the earliest thing that they were referring to as pizza comes from Naples, um,
Mm.
but a lot of the classic pizzas that we think of. But I had a pepperoni pizza on the Mediterranean coast when I was in Italy in 2006. Best pizza I've ever had.
Well, my phone's about to die, and it is almost 8 p.m. where I am, and I have yet to have dinner, so I am hungry. So I'm
Well, then it's
gonna go
definitely
eat.
time to go.
It was great having you on, Captain. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, I can have you on again in the future if you have time and I have time. Um, really enjoyed it. It's been honestly, it's been an honor talking to you. I've been wanting to do this before I even had a YouTube channel. I knew this is what I was going to be like. Yes, this is going to be it.
A life goal
So yeah,
completed. Hooray! Yeah, I will talk to the man behind the curtain and see what it actually requires to get a guest in. It shouldn't require Discord, but we'll need some way to send you the invite. But I think they
as
can
long
just
as
do that by
if you can
email.
do like text or email or anything like that, I can do any of those. I have no issue sharing my phone number with you or anybody from the WFA team as long as it doesn't get out. That's my
Yeah,
big thing because I don't
we don't do
want
anything
everybody
by
contacting me.
phone, so
Okay.
you shouldn't need to install Teams because I think you can connect through the web, but you might
As
have to
long as
download Microsoft Teams, but it's free, so
it's available on Android, that'll be fine for me.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just I don't have a PC to use, so
yeah. I do most of my streams, about half the streams through my phone, so it can be done.
okay.
So
I can't even tell
cool.
honestly.
Yeah. All right, go get some food. I'm gonna go get food.
One last thing I need to mention because I mention it all the time. Whenever we get to
What?
150 subscribers, I will be giving away a modified in-series ward. About like the one I sent you, Captain, except this one actually has the right size brass for half darts.
Fabulous.
When
Excellent.
I'll tell you how to enter once we get to 150 subscribers. And yes, Captain, you may enter, even though I will probably end up sending you another one sometime whenever I get more parts. But you will get to choose if you want it to fire the original N1 dart or if you want it to fire half darts. Again, I'll just let you guys know how to enter for that. It will be free, quick, simple, and easy. Just once we hit that 150, that will be going on, and I will do the actual giveaway live. I think I got an idea of how I'm going to do it. So that is set. That's the
Tell your
last thing I
friends.
needed to
Like and
say. So,
subscribe. Share, like, and subscribe. All that stuff.
yes.
Join the World Pummel Lions.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Again, honor having you on, Captain. Enjoyed it. Talk to you again soon.
Yeah, this was fun. Honk.